All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Agency Hour podcast. Quick note before we get started. That is the new name of the podcast. We secretly changed it. And for the last, let's see, this is episode 13. Last time was technically the first one. For the first 11 episodes of the podcast, Emily and a couple other team members secretly hated the name Pixel and Hammer Podcast. And we changed it. Our new designer, Scott, who is not with us today, but you can listen to his podcast, which was last week, will be linked down below. We kind of just rebranded the whole thing and changed the name. So now it's Agency Hour Podcast. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Ben Bear. We've been trying to get him in here for the past couple of weeks, and we finally got the schedule right. So Ben, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Ben, why don't you just, we're also joined by a couple of the team members. We have Emily on the couch as always. Say hello. And we have Shannon as well.
Hello.
Ben, why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, why you do it?
Well, the last part there, why, is the tough one. I'm the owner of Meadowbrook Gourds. Well, actually, my wife and I own it. And we have been growing and crafting hard-shell gourds for almost 25 years now, and we're kind of leaders in our field, and we're doing something that is rarely done, and that's what fascinates me about it. So I've been working on a farm since I've been probably 4. I can remember driving a tractor at 5, and I know I was working before that. So I've spent my life outside and in small business. Growing up on a farm, that's a small business, and my mother owned a deli, which is, like a couple employees, and so I had that from a background, and I just did my own thing, which combined woodworking or cabinet making with farming. A gourd is a lot like wood, and we carve them, craft them, and so I just took what I came from and kind of hybridized it a little bit. The why changes over time. When you're young and penniless, you do what you do in business for money, because that allows you options, and once you have those options, sometimes you have to ask yourself, why do you still do what you do?
Right.
And I am just fascinated by what I do, and I am completely bored if I have nothing to do. So
are you the type, would you say you're the type of person who, like, if you don't have a schedule or a lot of things going on, you freak out because you know there's something you could be doing, or there is work to be done, or money to be made, or some aspect of the business that needs your attention?
No, I wouldn't say that's fair, because I hate lists, and I hate having a lot to do. I would much prefer to have something to do that I enjoyed, and preferably something new, something that I haven't done before or hasn't been done before.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on that when Ashley was here. It's a very unique industry that you're in. I mean, there's thousands, if not millions, of craft stores, all around the world, but it's not a. I mean, do you fall into that category? Is Meadowbrook technically a craft store, or?
Well, we wouldn't call ourselves a craft store, even though we have a store. We're primarily a wholesale business, which is the way we started, and is still the bulk of our business, is selling to other craft stores.
Right.
So I hate to use the word manufacturer, but we would be more farming, a hybrid of farming and manufacturing.
And then distributing.
Yes, we just distribute in multiple ways, online, to our wholesale customers all across the country, and at our own store. So
I think that's interesting in that now that's where you are, but that's not how you started how many years ago in the garage of your house. Can you talk a little bit about that process from working in the garage to where you are now?
Well, first of all, when you start something new, you don't know anything. And 25 years later, if you survive 25 years, you're probably a master of something. So I would have started probably as a master of nothing. And I would have been, well, obviously 25 years younger. I would have had more energy, more ability to just put my head down and work continuously 6 days a week, 16 hours a day, just week in and week out. I think my mind just wandered a little bit. What was the end of that?
Oh, how did you go from working in your garage, creating these gourds, to
Okay.
what you have today?
Right. Because, I can't imagine you had the gourd washer and the sprayers and the power blasters and the thing that goes around with the
No.
water in your garage.
And even from a success standpoint,
Yeah.
and everyone has different views of that. I had Levi just started a year ago. Actually, his 1 year anniversary was a couple weeks ago. So happy anniversary, Levi!
Yes.
But I onboarded Levi and I onboarded just recently Scott, and I always go through all of our what we call VIP clients, or make sure that they understand their value, who they are, and what they mean to us, and how we support them. And in both cases, they were like, they make gourds and it's successful. They just completely blown away.
Well,
So
Especially,
Yeah.
how do you get there?
yeah. And that's especially when I first started a year ago. She's like, yeah, our biggest, it's Meadowbrook Gourds, and they do this and that, and it's my husband, Brandon, and his dad, and the whole family, and they do this, and this is how they do it. And I'm just like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. I didn't believe her. I thought,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is ridiculous. I didn't know this existed, this world, this type of craft, this whole process that you've created just astounds me still, even till this day.
And when you think of a small craft business such as that, and from a sales figure standpoint, if you're looking at success, you don't expect the numbers that you have. So that, I think, fascinates everyone that we bring into our team and bring into that culture that we have to support. And it flabbergasts them. How the heck did you do that?
Well, I would say 1,000 mistakes. I'm probably in those 25 years, I've learned to kind of enjoy making mistakes as long as I can keep the mistakes little,
Right.
because I guess I subscribe to the philosophy that if you're not making mistakes, you're just doing what somebody else did before, and you're careful. And I don't enjoy that. I would rather make a mistake. Now, again, not big mistakes. So I approach the market, which if you keep your customers happy, that's what you're doing in any business. So pretty much watching customers' reactions to what we have done over the years has honed our craft to where we're attentive to them, and in turn, it goes the whole way back to the designing process. And from there, we design things that excite the customers, because we know you don't eat a gourd. You know,
Right.
you don't need what we make.
Right.
You have to like it. So
They
our
want
job is to make you like it enough that you will trade your money for our work.
Right. Right.
And I think what changed in the beginning, I was surprised. When we put the first gourds, we took them to a show in Philadelphia, and I was stunned by the reaction of people to it, because I had never done anything like that. I mean, I'm a farmer.
Right.
I produced things that people ate, and I understood that market. But then to suddenly get ladies all excited, I didn't know what that was about. And, at first it was an accident. You were accidentally successful because you simply did something that nobody else did, but you didn't even know necessarily what you did. You didn't even appreciate what you did. You just did it, and you looked for a reaction. So I guess even in the beginning, that's what I was doing. I was throwing things up against the wall to see what stuck. We're just better at that now.
Right. Well, and I think that's the when you said about, I think that's the goal for, I guess, almost any business, right, is to just convince people like that what we have is something that you don't need, right? People don't need a web. I mean, well, today's age.
Yeah,
they
they
need-
need it.
do.
They definitely need it.
They need it.
I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like there's not a like.
Right.
Your
you know,
business can technically
Joe
survive
Smith,
without
right.
a brand
Joe-
and a website.
Joe Smith doesn't
Right.
need a website for his pumpkin patch, or Jamie and Oliver don't technically need a DJ for their wedding or a gourd for their fireplace, but we just have to convince those people that like
Yeah.
you do. You
It
probably
does
should.
provide value to
You
their
probably
life
should.
or business
Yeah.
in some way.
So, in regards to, you do a lot of wholesale business. I have personally, worked here and there at the farm, and I've seen firsthand the customer interaction. And just you sitting back in your little nook of the shop and crafting, and just speaking and interacting with the customers is fantastic. It's amazing, and people love that. From starting off, how did you build up your wholesale customer base, not having that hand or that face-to-face interaction?
That person to person. By creating a product that people had that interaction amongst themselves. In the beginning, we always tagged our product with our name, but we went and put our telephone number on. This is back before internet, basically, and all that. We put our name and our telephone number on there, and it upset some of our customers. And we didn't do it intentionally. I mean, that's the way you did business in the produce business. Right. You put your name and your contact information there. And there was such a reaction to them that they would go into somebody else's shop and see that product, or they would see somebody carrying our product around at the show, and they would go, "Where'd you get that?" They'd never seen that before. And then, it was mouth to mouth. We never had, because our customers are thinly scattered, I'd say maybe 1 in 1,000 people across this country really appreciate what we do. There's not a real effective way to connect to them other than having their friends, family, maybe even competitors or associates speak about that. So our product, our goal is to make a product that basically talks for itself. And that's, seriously, when we started, I don't see the enthusiasm we have now, because now people expect us to come up with something. We almost had ladies fighting. I mean, we would take so many gourds, we couldn't grow enough and we couldn't craft enough because we didn't have a system built and we didn't know how to grow them. And it was a free for all. We had a 10 by 10 booth. And we had a truck in the parking lot. Now, this is a wholesale show, so you have to have a business in order to get in there. So we're dealing strictly with business people that own shops. And there might be 500 other vendors. Maybe the shows weren't that big at that time, but somewhere hundreds of vendors. And we'd have to open up our truck in a parking lot and sell directly out of that, because we couldn't take the people at our booth. And because they wanted our product that bad that our couriers between the truck and the booth, they would stop them or somehow figure out where they were coming from, and they were suddenly meeting them at the truck. So business was being done in a parking lot. It was that crazy.
That's wild.
So, and that's just luck. I mean, it's not skill. It's just luck.
Well, you put out a great product. Your customer service, at least person to person, is there, and I know that your team, including your children, are doing a great job to try to keep that legacy alive and that customer service quality held as high as it can possibly be. So I commend them for that. But I do know that for events that we've held in the past, for our Claus Cause event, when there has been a Meadowbrook Gourd silent auction item, there have been quite the battle of people trying to bid as high as they can to get that prize. So I think your product does speak for itself, and it does resonate.
Well, I've never thought of myself as a good salesperson. I prefer not to be in sales. And it's intentional that our product speaks for itself, because I don't enjoy trying to convince somebody that they should buy something that I have. I would rather it was completely free choice, and I would rather they looked at it and wanted it rather than I had to tell them they wanted it.
I think you're being a little humble in saying that it was purely accident that people love your gourds. Because I know from working with you through your brand that the whole premise behind Meadowbrook Gourds, or your goal, is to craft items that make people smile. You're crafting smiles. You want there to be
Yes.
happiness throughout the entire process,
Yep.
so that when someone sees your gourd somewhere, they think, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And typically they're very happy with a smile on their face because you've created little personalities for these gourds.
Yep.
Well,
So there's
I-
that little pocket of like sunshine in this handcrafted product that tells a good story. So maybe you did it by accident.
Yes,
but
the first time was accident. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
After that, and with you guys' help, in the beginning, take a farmer, okay? He sells produce.
Right.
He doesn't understand branding. He doesn't understand the need for a branding. And then you build a business and you see that it's going in multiple directions, not badly. It's just not all tightly focused on doing one thing. And so as we learned along the way, we focus on smiles. Basically,
Yep.
if our customer is smiling, we're doing something right.
Yep.
So watch the smiles of your customers.
Right.
And it seems to be that simple.
Well, and you might not consider yourself a salesperson, but again, from firsthand experience being in the store and watching you interact with your customers, you're such a nice person. But I feel like just talking with you and having that conversation, I would be like, I want to buy something from this guy.
Well,
It's just, unintentional.
What I am is not trying to sell them anything. That's probably the best
That's
salesman.
right.
I'm trying to help them. And don't get me wrong, I want to sell them something, but it's
That's
more
not-
important to me to answer their questions.
Right. It's not your first priority.
It's the high.
No,
It's high customer service.
It's I trust that if I do my part of answering their questions and being as helpful as I can, that increases the odds of them buying a gourd.
Right.
But whether they buy one or not, I'm still going to do the same
You're the
thing.
same guy at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Now, you're also from what I would call a creative business. You've designed the majority of the designs that you have in your,
Well,
Not
my
recently.
daughter now would disagree.
but I would say over the lifespan of your business, most of those designs would
yes,
mostly be
they
yours.
have been. Yes.
So I know, and as I'm learning, because we're coming up on 9 years. Next year will be our big 10 for being in business. That I'm learning that there's seasons in a business, and being a creative person, I think it's easy to have burnout. How have you been able to? What's your process for coming up with designs and keeping things exciting and fresh
Right.
for
25 yeah.
years?
Well, for quite a few years, like we were talking 25 years, things were different in the beginning, and then there was the middle, and now there's now. Let's
Right.
not call this the end. It's now.
Of course not.
When I was crazy busy, and this would have been, say, year 1 to year 15, where I was just, I wore so many hats that I couldn't do anything completely right. What that forced me to do was, I didn't design a gourd. I didn't touch a gourd in order to craft it for 6 or 8 months of the year, because I was too busy to do anything else. So I was completely immersed in running the business and building the business and farming and all those things. I didn't touch a gourd. When it came time to design, suppose our catalog was coming up and we needed new products for it or whatever, it happened to be the time of the year that I wasn't so busy on the farm. So I would kind of get a fresh look at a gourd. So instead of staring at gourds trying to design for 12 months a year, for 8 months, I wasn't thinking at all about that. So whenever the time to design came, I was tired of the sun. I was tired of farming. I was, the season was winding down, and I get to sit inside and it's climate controlled, and I get to talk to customers, and I call it playtime. So when I'm designing my best, I'm playing. I'm
Right.
just playing. And I can do that with customers too. Like they'll say something. They won't give me a design, but they'll say something. And when they say whatever it might be, I might see or think something different than I did before. So I might go grab a gourd and say, oh, what would that be like on this shape of
Right.
gourd? So I play.
So now, and you said that you've been on the farm since you were a kid, right?
Yes.
So where did that, as a kid as well, were you this like artistic creative, or did that just kind of happen with the
okay.
gourd? You know what I mean?
So
Because some people have it and some
I
people
grew
don't.
up in a family where I would have been a Mennonite, and
Right.
it would have been pretty close to Amish. So art would have had the value of, I don't know, we never talked about it, thought about it. We didn't have a radio, we didn't have a TV, we didn't have a
Right.
painting in the house. We didn't study art in any way, and I never have. Yeah, that creative kid was there. I made rubber band guns for my sisters. You know, I made them claw. Like we weren't allowed to have anything but work boots and
Right.
whatever. And you know, it was the 60s and people were wearing sandals. So I made my sister sandals. I was always tinkering. The best Christmas gift I ever got was tools. I mean, there was nothing I ever wanted more than tools. And that must be because that's what I had the most use for.
Right.
And I wasn't making money at that time. That was my spare time. So yeah, it's always been
always been
in
there.
me. What has surprised me is the artistic side, I guess. I would have had no idea. No idea.
Right.
So I was asking you these questions to see if it's something that I could like replicate. Like, okay, how do I not be burned out? But I don't think I can if you get that nice, wonderful
Well-
break. I was thinking about
I
that. I
was-
was like, oh man,
I was thinking
that
the
would be
same
wonderful.
thing. Like, okay, so 6 to 8 months out of the year, Emily can't design anything. But
we're getting
that-
close to
Well,
that. Let's be
I
honest.
mean, you said isn't there like an agency that takes like half a year off or something that you found?
Every 7 years, they take a year off.
Right.
Yeah. I don't
Hmm.
think that's possible.
Well, I think it is when you burn out enough.
Well,
Right.
that's true.
They work really hard for 7 years, but then
Yeah.
they take that year off and they actually have clients lined up for whenever they get back.
Mhm.
So they work on that work, but in their spare time and your playtime when
Yes.
they're, off doing excursions wherever they're thinking about these projects. So they come
Mhm.
back and they do excellent work and they're known for it and that works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to make it sound like playtime came easy. I had to work for it. I mean, you have to get all your other things in order. Even though I had the seasons to help me, I started focusing probably 12 years ago on jobs that I did not enjoy doing, because I believed if I enjoyed it, I would do it much better and I would do a better job and be happier and I'm not good at everything. So I started peeling the jobs off, job at a time, finding somebody that could do it better than I could. And actually people like different things. So somebody could like the job that I can't stand.
Right.
And so just a process over years. And then with my kids coming into the business, I mean, they just put that into SuperDrive. They happen to all three be different and they all have gifts in different areas. And collectively, I don't know that any of them have as many half gifts as I have, but their full gifts collectively are much better than what mine alone is. And it's just not my kids in the business. See, I mean, there's other people that contribute too, in major ways. It's just I saw the biggest jump when they came in and simply removed from my plate the rest of those things that I didn't like.
Now, was that a process, or was that just like Brandon came in, he said, I'm going to do this. Ashley came in, said, I'm going to do that. Nathan came in, said, I'm going to do this. Or was that also a learning?
No, they're just different. I was gifted to have really different children.
Right.
They don't have loves and gifts in the same exact zone. And my oldest son, Emily's husband, hated the business and hated gourds so bad that he went in the army to get away from the place. And
It's true.
you ask how the process happens. Somewhere in his travels, he decided that he would rather work and be a part of our business than anything else that he saw.
Right.
And so he came back, like the prodigal son came back, which stunned me. I mean,
Son
just
has returned.
I
absolutely
didn't-
stunned me.
I didn't think he was coming back either.
And
Right.
my daughter didn't seem to have any interest in the business either. And my middle son, Nathan, he had an interest in the business, but he always made it clear that he wanted free to go somewhere else. So 6 years ago, if you asked me if any of my kids would be in the business, I would have said no.
Right.
And 6 years later, they're pretty well replacing me, and they're happy to do it, and I'm happy for it to happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, it's another one of those things I didn't plan out real well. They just happen.
Right.
Happy accident.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and so let's talk about and you might need to think on this, and I thought that maybe because Emily and I are also kind of in the business owning realm, maybe we can let you think about it for a minute, and we can kind of tell our story. But can you think about a time, big or small, where you as a business owner failed? And okay, well, so we should just clear our schedules for the rest of the evening.
When Levi asked me this question, I kind of laughed too, and I was like, "Which time?"
Yeah, well, just
And then she
because-
actually asked for my help on that.
so, 'cause-
Emily couldn't find any flaws, so she.
yeah.
For-
No, I said,
I
"Which
can't
time?"
think of a time that I
Like, which
failed.
is a good
Help
one.
me.
So for me, I mean, it happened recently, so that's why I came up with a question. But I know, obviously, over the course of 25 years, there's probably dozens of times where there's been failures and you learn from it. But I mean, if there's like a memorable one or something that got you to a milestone or something that changed the face of the business, maybe I'm not entirely sure.
You can go first, Levi.
Yeah, I mean, so and this just happened, which is crazy. But so Justin and I, we've been filming, we've been using cameras, we've been making videos ever since we were in high school, right? And then with Sparks Entertainment comes along the weddings, and it's the most important day of anybody's life, and they give us the ability to film their weddings, right? And this last one that we did a couple weeks ago, the footage is lost from camera A. So we only have some backup footage from camera B. When this bride who just got married, she just got back from her 2 weeks in Hawaii on her honeymoon, and now I have nothing else to tell her, but we lost like all of your reception footage, some of the beforehand stuff, most of the pre-roll. It's gone. And this has never happened. We've always delivered. We've always been on point. There's always been 5-star reviews. There's always been a final product that we have standards for, and now we can't deliver on it. And so Justin, even he was like, "Has this ever happened?" I'm like, "Well, no, not at all." And it just so we came up with solutions, and we were just up in front and honest with the bride, saying that this has never happened. It's our fault. We're gonna refund you this much money, and we're gonna here's some options, right? So we said we'll use the footage we have to give you a shorter video, but still a video. Or we use the footage that we have, and we'll work with your photographer, and we'll put stills in where we lost the footage, and we'll pan them or zoom them out or do whatever we can do to make it look better for you. And after I spent 30 minutes typing up this email to this bride that I was terrified to send, because to be honest, she was a bridezilla, and the video was something that was really important to her, and she irradiated it, and I don't know my words. She said it over and over again, like, I really want this video, I really want it to be like this, I really want it to be like this, and it's just over and over again. So this was like the most important thing to her, and I lost half of it. So, I sent the email, and I was just waiting for a terrible response. Like, how could you? This is terrible. Like, she's going to go off and change her 5-star review to a 1, or, whatever it may be. and surprisingly, she came back and said, it's terrible news. We understand this happens. Let's go with option 2, get the photos from the photographer, and we'll make it work. And so it was scary, and I stalled on it for 3 days because I wasn't sure that I could send this email to this bride. And it's definitely a failure on our part, but we're gonna grow from it. We're gonna give her the best we can. We're gonna give her a video. It's not gonna be what she expected or what we expected as a company to put out, but we're gonna get better memory cards. We're gonna have multiple backups. We're gonna transfer them. We're gonna make sure we know where everything is. We're gonna back up those backups, and it's just gonna be a process from here on out that just says, like, there's no way this can happen again. And I mean, who knows? Will it down the road? Maybe, but that's just a small failure that we've had in the last 5 years that has kind of enlightened us, because it's always been easy. We always go, we show up, we kill it, we have a great time, we get a 5-star review. We go, we show up, we film it, we do a great job, we put out the great video.
You had something left to learn yet.
We were just straight downhill, and we were going, and then we hit a bump, and we just didn't know how to handle that scar, that bruise that we got from the bump from falling so hard. And that's kind of how we handled it. I don't know.
If your customer's happy and you learn something, it's not a total mistake.
I can't say that I don't know. Obviously I know she's upset. I mean, what bride wouldn't be? So I mean, happy might not be the right word, but as long as, like, I know that I did everything I could, I was professional about the situation, I checked off all the boxes when it came to, like, figuring out all the pieces to the puzzle, and if I put it together 100%, then that makes me okay as a business owner. And I mean, that's just kind of the difference between like per se my business and yours. Like, if you sell a gourd to somebody and they're happy, they're going to come back and buy another gourd. If I DJ at a wedding and they're happy, that's the end of our relationship. So I mean, but other than that, then I think that's...
Well, they have friends.
Correct.
And they're probably in the marriage.
Correct.
Their friends are probably in the marrying age. So what matters is what she tells other people. And it sounds like she forgave you for being human.
Yeah, and it was a mixture of human and just, yeah, you're right.
She must have had a great time in Hawaii.
I'm sure she did.
Well, and after you get married, you just, you calm down a little bit, because everything was so chaotic, especially if she was a bridezilla. Leading up to that meant she probably was handling a lot of that planning and everything on her own.
Right. Right.
So I think it's human nature. You're doing the best you can.
I believe that she also was in the process of starting her own business and going off on her own and getting married and all that. Right. So, that was just kind of our most recent failure and how we've kind of came from it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Ben.
I don't have a really elaborate story like Levi. I think this is so fresh for him that he's really has it figured out. I know for me, whenever he asked me, the first thing that came to my head was, I have this fault, and my fault is that I'm highly critical. I like to do things myself, because then I know that I can critique myself and know what I'm doing, and it's all then my responsibility, and I don't have to rely on someone else. So delegating is my goal this year, figuring out how to let things go and delegate. But when Shannon went on maternity leave...
Was this your big failure story?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's all your fault.
It's my fault. I did this to myself.
Pregnant, and it's all your fault.
For some reason, I don't know why, because Shannon does so much at this office, I thought that I could handle her job and my job at the exact same time. I did not in any way plan any form of help for myself. I just thought, I was really confident that Shannon has everything planned out. I'm just going to follow the plan, and the business is going to run super smooth for 6 to 8 weeks while she's out without her. That was not the case. I still consider that the dark time of my business. With everything that my business has been through, that's my dark time, because it was all on me. But it was an everyday battle to juggle balls and not let anything really important drop, and then to determine what balls could actually be dropped, because we had really large
They had to.
projects.
Some had to.
I was a full-time designer running a business with sales and then doing a full-time project management job, which is very, very difficult. I'm sorry, Shannon, that I may have ever belittled your job.
Well, you used to do it before
Yeah.
your business became what it is now.
Yes.
And I think that's like in your
Like,
mind.
5
you
years
thought-
ago when we were this tiny.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think in your mind, you just thought like, well, because I did have things scheduled out, but the schedule continually, I mean, like day to day sometimes adjusts itself. So, but I think in your mind, you thought, I've done this before, I can do it. And I did it while designing. So, but your business has grown so much since then that it just was not the same.
In the same token of Levi, there were a lot of apologies to clients during
Yeah.
that time. I'm
Yep.
really sorry I missed that email that you sent on Monday. I got 40 different emails
Right.
in
Yep.
between then from other people having fires that I'm dealing with that Shannon would normally be dealing with while I'm designing a website.
Right.
I did that to myself, but then I didn't at that time take the opportunity to lean on the rest of my team, which would have been helpful. They would have been there to help me.
Yeah.
But I took all of that responsibility on myself.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, lots of
Now,
apologies.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. I since then realized that delegation is a good thing, and that there are people, like you said, that can do things way better than I can,
And enjoy it.
and are willing to help. I think I'd never like to put responsibilities on my team that's not what is considered in their job description, but we have actually built a community here that will help. So, moral of the story is, next time any ladies in the office decide to have children, we're going to hire someone to help, and
Whether it be a temp or
delegate
somebody,
those-
something.
delegate those
somebody to help.
decisions. And I also took from that I just need to delegate, period, which I'm still working on. It's still one of my downfalls.
Speaking of people in this office having children, I don't have any grandchildren yet. So have you made plans for, if you like ever did, how you would replace yourself?
Well,
We've had that conversation.
Mama Bear offered to start a Mama Bear daycare for one.
Oh,
I
I
think that's
don't-
a serious offer.
I don't
think
think
so,
that
too.
I could ever leave here.
No.
But that actually has been something that I have been thinking about in the next phases of, where do I fit in here 10 years from
Yeah.
now?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I fit in here 5 years from now?
Well,
And
we
what
ask,
I
our,
see that
we
looking
ask our
like.
clients all the time, where
Yeah.
do you see your business in 5 years? So that
Yeah.
we can plan accordingly. And I think it's always a smart idea to think of that yourself.
Mhm.
Where do you see this business in 5 years? Where do you see yourself within this business in 5 years?
Yeah, because I'm still in your first 15 years where I put
The
in the
crazy
long
years.
hours
Yes.
and
Go, go, go.
and so when do I determine when is the option to, when is it valuable to hire someone to do that stuff for me, so that I like have a more consistent schedule and can focus on business growth rather than I'm still working in production. So that's where I am.
Yeah.
But that's, I would say, my biggest snafu was
But I asked her-
overconfidence.
I want my daughter to have a little bear friend. So,
little bear cub.
a little bear cub.
Little bear cub.
Brandon,
Yeah.
don't watch this or listen to this podcast.
You know he's gonna.
He's gonna.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
well, he already knows how we feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll need a website and business cards for Mama Bear Daycare.
Ooh,
Uh,
yeah.
Wait a minute. She doesn't want additional guests.
Oh, it's just for you?
Yeah.
And well, and any,
And-
Any other little
cubs.
bears.
Yes, yes.
You
Any
have to
other
have a
little
bear
bear
cub.
cubs. Has to be a bear cub.
Wow.
Be a bear cub.
That's dumb. That's a silly business model if I've ever heard one. No.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't make any money. I'm sure the services are
I
free.
feel like, I feel like that kind of daycare
Yeah.
actually spends money then.
Right.
Yes.
There's more money spent.
Yes.
She told me that in Punta Cana while we were floating in the ocean. I was like, "Oh, Denise, that changes everything." Just kidding, but no, that is on our mind. And,
Saves a lot of
and
money.
how does that actually happen whenever Brandon's running
you
two
both run
businesses and I'm running one? So,
Yeah.
but we're digressing.
Yeah.
Did you come up with a cool failure yet?
Cool.
One you're really
All right.
proud of?
Failure.
I've made so many mistakes that I have to go big picture to give a big one, because I don't think all right, I've made so many mistakes that I forgot most of them. I think I maybe learned what I should have from them, but then I
Right.
put them in the past. I would say I started business thinking that everybody was somewhat like me or mostly like me, and they would think like I thought if they could see what I saw. And that means that most people had the ability to manage other people. Most people wanted essentially the same, not exactly the same thing, but wow, have I been shocked. And I think I'm a lot smarter to realize that it's a whole smorgasbord out there, and that has actually helped me delegate, is realizing that what I love somebody else hates, and what I hate somebody else loves.
Right.
And we're not all after we're just very different, and there's so I guess my mistake would be thinking people fit in basically a large mold, but pretty much the same. And it has helped me a lot to learn that that's not at all the case. I remember when we had Brandon. He was such a perfect young man as far as easy to raise, yada, 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 quick to learn, and all those things. And then we had his brother, and he was... Okay, well, let me back up. I thought we knew how to raise kids after we had one because he was so easy to raise. And then our second one had a completely different temperament.
Right.
Absolutely completely different temperament. Not better, not worse, just different. And I don't know where I got it in my head that people were the same. Like, I thought maybe if you came from the same family or raised the same way, you'd be pretty much the same. Well, that was maybe the beginning of my wisdom then, and I just guess over the years I have had that re-cemented, and I've made countless mistakes because of that mindset, because I guess I didn't take the time to think how different people were and how for them to be satisfied and happy they needed completely different things. So I know that's not sexy, but that's probably cost me more than... Well, I had a lot of dumb mistakes, so it's cost me a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever, I know the answer to the question, but have you ever made the same mistake twice?
Yes.
Really?
Now that's a mistake.
Now wait a minute. Now,
Yes, I have. Yes.
in what way?
Little
All right, today.
Yes.
Oh, all
Okay,
right.
here we
Okay.
Today, I am going out to spray.
go. Okay. You're spraying the gourds.
I was actually replanting sunflowers right now.
Right. For you.
And
Yes.
I was in a hurry.
Yep.
So I didn't properly clean my sprayer. I could go into detail, but it wouldn't mean anything to anybody. I didn't properly clean my sprayer, which I should have done. But
Right.
you think, I
whatever.
want to just go.
Yep.
Well, one nozzle after another nozzle jammed up, and you want a perfect spray pattern or else you have weeds in your field. So I'm sitting in the middle of the field, and I'm fixing one after another, and I'm thinking, all right, dumbass, why? You know better.
Right.
Why didn't you? So that, yeah, I've made more than one mistake twice. And that's where I would call that a mistake.
Okay.
And we all have our habits, and that's just a habit that I haven't controlled yet.
Right. Where so I'm sure there's an obvious answer, but maybe you can go into more detail. But where do you see Meadowbrook in the next 25 years, 50 years in?
Okay, I'm going to surprise you, maybe.
Okay.
I don't look ahead like that. I don't even think about that.
Right.
I think about incremental improvement.
Okay.
Just better all the time. Coming from, like, if you try new things, you're going to make mistakes, or you're gonna learn the error your way. So I don't think size of the business. I don't think anything like that. And you said 25 years.
Sure.
50?
Yeah.
I hope the people that are in the business are still have a good livelihood from it. And if we're not crafting gourds, I'm okay. As long as as long as the people there are happy and they're producing a quality product that they're proud of, if that circle of content employees and happy customers is still going on, and it's with a completely different medium, I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah.
I love business and I like gourds a lot, but if I was growing sunflowers and putting on sunflower festivals, that's what's exciting me now.
Right.
So, I
Now, do
I
you
don't
think your
think
children would look at that, and each of
Yeah, how
them
would-
being so different
sure.
would have a different goal? Maybe not 25 years, because I also agree, like, that is really
big goal.
far
Okay.
away.
Sure.
But like 5 years, I feel like 10 years is probably pushing it for me to think, because it's so hard for me to envision what that would be like for me 10 years from now, like where my life will be, what will be happening, but 5 years is a little bit more realistic. Do you think your kids would each have a different response for that? Probably.
Here's the thing. I'm committed, and I'm committed to letting the business, letting them have the say in the business that I've had. Now, not 100% and not right away, but it would be completely fine with me, and I would completely expect them, because we never talk about it. So I would think there would be all different visions in their heads, all of them successful, all of them high quality. I mean, built around something high quality, and all of them around free choice for the customer. Like, they're not, what would disgust me is if they decided that in order to make additional money, they would do something that wasn't basically free choice to the customer. It would be a bait and switch, or it'd be some kind of pyramid scheme or something where they defrauded people. That I don't think is in any of them either, but that's
Right.
the only thing that I would care about is the business handled to where it's good for them, employees, customers, and the community? Is the business doing good for other people, is for yourself and for other people, is basically all I care about. I didn't think it would last this long. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Ashley is like she's like under you. She's like taking over your position, or Ashley's going to be she's
Okay.
doing the master farming, or
Ashley has my talents, or I have hers, whichever you want to call it, in the design. I think it's a pretty close toss-up about which one of us would be a better designer, and I know together we are really good. She is the only one out of my 3 kids that has any interest in farming at all.
Okay.
And she wants to take over the farm, which is a love of mine to farm. Like, that's where I choose to be
that's where you came from.
most of the time.
Right.
And I'm glad that one of them likes that. I didn't even have an answer to that, 5 or 6 years ago. Nobody else knew how to grow gourd. So if something happened to me, the gourd business was already
Right.
already in trouble, because it all starts out on the farm. So no, she's just a part. She is one of the key parts.
Okay. Next question. How many acres of sunflowers are you doing this year?
Oh, geez. I know where this is going.
70 couple.
70 what?
70
That's more
couple.
than you thought.
70 couple?
72, 3, 4,
Oh,
somewhere
gotcha,
in that
gotcha.
neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And so, and where did that? Can you tell me where that idea just came from? Like, what is you grow gourd, you're a gourd farm, et cetera, et cetera. Like, one day you just decided, let's just do 70 acres of sunflowers.
No, it's not one day.
Okay.
It's an accident.
Right.
I was looking for cover crops years ago, like maybe 10 or 15 years ago. I was looking for cover crops in order to regenerate the land when it wasn't in gourds or something else.
So that just cover crop just keeps the soil good, or
right,
You have
without
to rotate your crops.
without ground cover on the soil, it packs hard from the rains. It also washes into the creek and so forth. So you're always trying to have something growing.
Got it.
Either something just dead and something new planted, or a continue.
Got it.
And we grew a small patch, I guess, within sight of our retail customers, and they asked about them, and I said, "Would you like some?" And they said, "Yeah." And that's how it started, and it just
Right.
just a pure accident. I
I
grew
know,
it for
it's a-
one reason, and it turned out to be good for our customers.
Right.
And it's fantastic because then people come out and go to your store that may not have come out before,
Yes.
and they have
Yep.
the photo opportunities of
Yes.
it, and they just get to. There's something about for anyone that's listening to this that hasn't previously been out to Meadowbrook Gourds, but do yourself a favor and go, because whether I'm out there visiting or out there working and helping, it's like there's something about it. I don't know. I mean, you live there, so I don't know if you
We
are like
forget sometimes,
you forget,
yeah.
but like for someone like me who goes out there, even Emily, you're out there at least once a month, if not more, right? But for someone like me, I'm only out there, once every 2-3 months. But it's kind of magical because it's just this, like, first of all, the scenery is beautiful, absolutely
Yep.
beautiful. It's peaceful, and everyone's so nice and friendly. All the customers that come out, everyone that's there, and it does put a smile on your face, whether it's the product itself or the scenery or the employees, the staff, whatever. But it is really great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
You've
you.
done a great job.
One mistake at a time.
Exactly. Hey,
Yeah.
that's how you do it.
That's kind of
Yeah.
our mantra here too. Is it's okay to make mistakes as long as we're learning and improving from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would much rather watch somebody make a mistake than go up to them and ask them why they did something, and they have why do you do it the way you do it? And they have no idea, and they tell me because that's the way we always did it. To me, that's how you don't make mistakes, is by doing something the same way it's always been done. The bad thing is you don't learn anything, and that just drives me crazy to
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
because I think in why. And
Right.
anyhow, off the subject.
All
Sorry.
right. Do you have any other questions for Mr.
Well,
Ben?
I was just going to say that the crazy idea that sometimes I curse you, Ben, for it, to start this business.
I thought you were going to say for that son of mine.
Some days I do that too, but he's a lot like you, unfortunately. But one thing is, I lived with Ben for a couple years when Brandon was in Iraq, and we would sit out on the front porch and talk about your business and about owning a business and the process and philosophies behind things. And that really inspired me to continue forward with this. Where do you have any advice for people who are, starting their own businesses or in the midst of it that you think could help them improve their businesses long term?
The only thing I can think of is to be generous and have integrity. I think you build a reputation from the day you hang your sign up there for that you're in business. You're building a reputation, and you can fool some. What's the saying? You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And I think your reputation is what you need to think about from the very beginning. Like if you. Like Levi, you made a mistake with your photography. It's the way you handle it. It's not that you didn't make a mistake, but you offered money back, whatever. You had Bridezilla apparently at least somewhat modified because she's going to tell this story from her side to other people. And there's nothing you can do about that. And I would tell every young business person that happens. Your word gets around.
Right.
You're either somebody that pays your bills on time, you're somebody that is honorable, or you're out for chasing dollars, and chasing dollars, unfortunately, I think chasing dollars directly doesn't work out in the long term, if that makes any sense. If making a profit is the most important thing to your business, and it is an important thing, you can't stay in business without profit, but if that's all, do something else.
You're going to hurt a lot of people along the way.
Yeah, and you'll wind up hurting yourself.
Right.
I think so. That's what I'd say. Just Just I don't believe in master plans. I think people plan differently. Some people look way out and they build step by step to something, and some people wing it. They just, well, whatever is now, they'll try a little better tomorrow, and they wind up, somewhere they never thought. But it all starts, I think, with the way that you do business. And I guess the other thing, maybe I'm a Nazi on this, is I would say quality counts. Whatever you do, be the best at it. I mean, there's no, so maybe in the beginning you can't technically be the best, but you can try to be very, very good and work to be the best, or to be a very high quality. And I think that's part of that reputation thing that you build. I think it pays off in the end.
Well said. Okay, one last thing, and then we're going to wrap it up. So, small proposal. So you did 70-ish acres of sunflowers this year. Let's do this for 2019. You know what? Well, not even next year. For 2020, let's do 60 acres. And on that pre-existing 10 acres, we're going to build the very first Meadowbrook Gourds wedding venue. I'll give you and all your people 20% of all profits. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to another episode of the Agency Hour podcast. We want to thank Ben Bear very much for joining us. This has been great. We're going to have him back. Maybe we should just do a podcast one time with all the bears.
Oh, God. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
You know what? If you would find out how different we are.
Yeah.
That's what you would find.
Yeah.
And the same to some degree, but you asked about each role that they play. I think maybe that would play out.
That would come out in the podcast.
Ashley enjoyed it.
Ashley enjoyed it.
She had a really good time.
Brandon,
Yeah.
I know how Brandon
loves
on the
them.
podcast.
Nathan hasn't been on yet.
All right, Emily Bear, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
Ben Bear, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
Shannon, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for listening.
I need someone to love me the whole day through. I want look in my eyes and you can tell that's true. Lullabies, look in your eyes, run around the same old town. Doesn't mean